Hey everyone, how you doing? Today I'll be showing you a very easy technique to make quick backgrounds with water-based metallic or glitter markers and also 4 cards from start to finish. And without much ado, let's get started. Now what you need for this technique is some glossy kind of photo paper and a glossy ceramic kind of surface. All you do is put your markers down on the surface, add some water on the paper or on the markers, and voila, you get this amazing marbleized kind of look. These water-based markers, they do react with water, and the glossy paper, it doesn't absorb the marker, it just creates layers upon layers the more times you repeat it, and you get this amazing marbleized kind of look. Now I have done this technique in the past with normal markers, the super tips. I'm using the Crayola glitter and metallic ones here. I used the super tips in the past, and even that works great. I'd say even better because they are very much water reactive. I'll link that video down in the description below, but this is just an updated kind of version. Personally, I loved the glitter ones. The backgrounds were amazing. You can blend, you can texture them out, you can create layers upon layers. There is just numerous possibilities and exploration in this technique, and you really need to try this out. Like, all you need is a glossy paper, that's all. Some water-based markers which you may already have, and any surface, glass, ceramic bowls, ceramic plates. There's any glossy kind of table you may see in your house, and you have it, and you need to give this technique a try definitely. Now I will show 4 ways you can use such backgrounds in your cards, and I'll be using black paper here because these kind of backgrounds, they just stand out more on black paper. Now I ended up creating 4 backgrounds. One from the metallic one, you can see the metallic shimmer and shine. 2 from the glitter markers, and I had a few unused backgrounds left from the same technique but with super tips, and I had a lot of glittery water, so I coated these backgrounds with the glittery water, and it has a lot of glitter and shine. It's hard to catch in the camera, but it looks great in real life. So we have 4 backgrounds to work with. The first way in which you can use such backgrounds is by pairing them up with any kind of intricate die cut. You'll have the background peeking through. Now I'm not using any die cut here, I just created a wavy kind of pattern by hand, and then I'm shading the lines I want to cut. So we'll have a nice wavy kind of pattern with the background peeking through. You'll understand that in a moment. It's a nice way to wrap up your card. Like, if you simply stick the background, it won't do much work, you want something to go with the background. So we have this nicely cut border here on back of it, which will stick the background. So now I'm just sticking the background by taking some space for the border, and I'm sticking it on the card, on a note card, measuring 5 by 7 inches, which I ended up cutting up because the border was a bit short. Now again, you can stick the die cut pattern right on the background, or you can use some dimension. Now I prefer the dimension here because it makes the background stand out a bit more. And again, I'm using some styrofoam for dimension. Like, I'm so out of any kind of dimension things like foam tape or anything. I just have the styrofoam and I'm using it. It works as great. So I just put some dimension, and then I'm sticking this background, this die cut pattern on the top of our background, and you can see it looks great, like amazing. And I made this die cut thing a bit short because I didn't do the measuring before, and I ended up cutting it, but it's nice. The card size was still pretty nice, still pretty understandable, and there was enough background to catch the eye. Now, to be honest, when I laid my eyes first time on the background, all I could think was kind of a restaurant, a bar, pub, something where people are chilling and having some drinks, and there is this wall with such amazing marble and background. So I decided to make some cocktails for the images on the card, and I stamped these from a stamp set called Mix It Up by Clearly Besotted, and I'm coloring the straw with this. And by the way, you see me using this neon pen kind of things. I have a video coming on them, and I'm just coloring these. Now I especially enjoy coloring these small images because it lets you use a lot of the colors you have. Like, usually these markers come in the 50, 25 pack, and you never really get to use all of the colors. So I'm just coloring the coconut, pineapples, the little flowers and umbrellas. It was really relaxing. I really enjoyed coloring these cocktails. Now here I'm fuzzy cutting all these little cocktails. Now I love fuzzy cutting all my images, partly because I love how relaxing it is and I love this defined black edge thing you get with fuzzy cutting, but also because I don't have the die cuts for all these little images that come paired up with the stamps, as you know how broke I am. And to be honest, you don't need them too. Like, fuzzy cutting is a very simple thing, and with a few simple tricks you can fuzzy cut just about anything. And I'll be sharing some tips in this video. Like, first of all, you always turn the paper, you never turn the scissors. Like, you don't turn scissors any kind of smooth curves you want to get. You just cut with your scissors, like keep pressing it, and you turn the paper. You just never ever turn the scissors. Second thing, make your image as smaller as possible. Like, cut it out with some paper connected to it. Just cut it out roughly, and then start cutting it with detail. You need the paper as small as possible so you can freely turn and twist it and create all these amazing curves. As you can see, these images look pretty complicated, but I was able to fuzzy cut them all very easily. And now with the cocktails ready, I'm just creating a simple arrangement of these cocktails, and then I'll be writing the sentiment below them, so you can see me arranging them, and then I'm sticking it. The sentiment I choose for this card is cheers to you. Works for any occasion: birthday, anniversary, graduation. You'll be cheering on all of them anyways. And I'm hand lettering it with a simple silver glitter pen, because silver and black, they're made for each other. Now, as usual, after finishing up everything, I went in with a black pen and just defined all the edges of the fuzzy cut images. With images you're fuzzy cutting, you really want to do this. Like, of course, fuzzy cutting isn't the most perfect thing. So you go in with a black pen, define the curves and the smooths, all the little details, and it makes it look very, very amazing. And then wrote the to you below the cheers, and then I'm just making the small patterns I always make in all of my cards, and you can just see the difference before and after. It makes a lot of difference. A little detail, but a lot of difference. And with that being said, I'm signing my name, and this card is done. I love the fresh feel of the card. The background looks amazing. Personally, I love this card. Probably one of my favorite in all the four I made. Now for the next card, we have these two small glittery squares with patterns on them. When I was making the background, I just moved my brush in vertical or horizontal manner, and it ended up creating this texture which looks really great. And we'll be creating very small frames and silhouettes of flowers. This looks really, really amazing. Now you can see me, I'm cutting a square frame, very thin lead kind of frame, and I have this flower sticking out of it, to create the silhouette. And you can see me again, I'm fuzzy cutting, and again it looks intricate, but it's very easy. Now after cutting out our floral frames, I'm just sticking it on the glitter squares we have. Now the frames were perfectly square, the backgrounds weren't, so there's some peeking through, and I'm just like cutting it out. And while sticking this, you have to be careful, like don't tear it. They're very delicate, don't tear it. And right off the bat, you can see, even without sticking them on any kind of card, just how amazing they look. I imagine the blue one to be a flower silhouette from a waterfall, and the orange one to be a flower peeking out in a sunset scene, and just how amazing it looks, all the glitter in real life, just amazing. And then I took a square note card measuring 5 inches by 5 inches, and I'm sticking them diagonally from each other. The other two places, this is a square base card. We have 4 squares within the square card, and those 2 places will be occupied by a cut up love you. Now I hand lettered a love you, which could be cut. It was a thick one. You can cut it like those die cuts you have, word die cuts. I just made something like that. Just hand lettered a love you, or you can say drew it, and then I'm again fuzzy cutting it. Now you can see me. This one was a tricky one. Like you have these cursive, like the inside of a G, the curve of the L. You need to cut that out too. I use a paper cutter from that. For that, some people use craft knives. But again, the main thing is to move the paper and be really patient. And once you're cutting a smooth part, you don't lift up your scissor. Now after cutting them, I wanted them to be glittery but not that glittery. Like I wanted them to be a subtle kind of silver. So I just took those markers again, added some water to them, and I'm just lightly coloring these words, and they'll be, they'll have this subtle kind of shine and shimmer matching up with all the vibe of the card. Like, just white was looking a bit plain. Now I colored them by sticking them to the back of a drawing book with some light adhesive, and you can see I managed to tear up the T. If it happens with you, don't panic at all. It won't look when you stick them close together. That doesn't mean you can tear every part. But if it accidentally happens with you, it's absolutely fine. Don't throw it away or make another one. You can use it. You can definitely use it. And I'm sticking it in the square space left. And you can see just how amazing this card looks. It's very, very elegant. The silhouette, the glitter, everything. It was an amazing card. So yeah, pretty basic stuff. Next, I just ticked the words, signed my name, and with that being said, this card is done. Now the next card I created is a mini one. Like, it could fit in my palm, seriously. The note card was 3.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and what we'll be doing with this background is we'll be creating paper cut sentiment on top of that. So first I sticked it to the note card, trimmed it up and sticked it, and then we'll be writing sending paper hugs on it. So first of all, I created this small strip, and I'm using this pen, the pen I mentioned before, which I'll be having a video on soon. These pens, they work great on black paper. So I'm just writing the word sending on it, and I'll be cutting it in a banner kind of form, like, just very simply you can cut two triangles on each of the edges, and it will create a simple banner. After cutting the sending, I'm just cutting the paper in the bold font style, capital bold, and the hugs in the script style. I swear I did a lot of fuzzy cutting on these cards, and I'm just simply cutting them, and then I'll be coloring them black to stand up on the background. And this is a very simple card, just writing sending paper hugs, sticking the elements on it, but still it creates a lot of impact because of the background and also all this cutting we are doing. It's a simple yet effective card. For this video, I'm showing the footage of a lot of fuzzy cutting which I do because to encourage you guys to fuzzy cut a bit more. You really don't have to invest on die cuts, which are pretty expensive. For words or small images, you can always fuzzy cut them. Now I'm using my hand as a reinforcer this time and coloring the images with a black marker because last time I had a mishap and these ones were far more delicate. I didn't want to tear them. Now here I'm just sticking all the little elements we made on our card, and I'm using a scale to just make sure that I stick them straight. And you can see just by simply cutting small elements with a little few, if you're having a background that is something you want to stand out on the card, you can use this technique. Like if you have any small word dies, or maybe you can cut them by hand, fuzzy cut them, and write anything. You can write a happy birthday or a happy anniversary or just simply anything. And you can use different font styles, have some banners or some hearts or anything. And you can see it works as an effective, quick card. Now after that, I'm just making sure that no white areas are left because I colored them. And then I took a glitter pen, a red one, and made a small heart to add a little bit of an interest. Now here I'm signing my name, and this card is also done. You can see the glitter in the background. Okay, on to the last card. Here we'll be using punches. A lot of you might have punches of any sort, leaves, flowers, hearts, anything. Here I'm just using a flower punch, and I'm cutting a bunch of flowers from this background we made. And it turned out pretty great because the flowers were having all kind of textures and gradients. And this is one little technique with flower punches, like after you cut your flowers, to make them look like they're blooming, just pinch them in the center and fold them on the outward edges, and it looks like a flower is blooming. It's a very amazing thing to do. Makes your flowers stand out a lot more. Now I'm just creating kind of an arrangement on a note card. I just sticked some of them, I left them flat, and I stick them just as a guidelines, and then I'll be sticking the other flowers in between the spaces to create a floral arrangement. This is a very nice technique. I've used it in the past, and the punches, they're really like, they don't seem to have much of a use, but they really are useful. And you can batch, like you can cut them from backgrounds or pattern papers or anything. And this background we created, it worked great. Like the flowers, they have all different textures and everything. This was by far the most simplest card out of all of them. Not much cutting or anything, just a simple floral arrangement. And I'm using some black gemstones to create the center of the flowers, which are above the line, like they're in the center, and like in the foreground. And I'm just sticking and creating their centers with black gemstones. With cards like these, you have the space to show off your hand lettering skills or any large sentiments you may have, with a lot of floral arrangement or a nice hand lettering style. Here I'm just hand lettering a thinking of you. Now, as the space left is pretty big one, the sentiment is pretty big one too. I again used different font styles for each of the words, because that has a lot of difference. The off is pretty simple, and the U, they are like bold, and I'm just coloring them with silver pen. And the next thing I'm doing is I'm creating little hearts of blue and green color with the same pens I showed you earlier, and it added a lot of interest in the card. Like, it looked pretty amazing. The hearts were a really nice detail you can add. As you can see, with pens on in all of the cards, we see that little details that will add a lot of interest to your card, and you really want to take the time to add them. And here I'm just signing my name, and with that being said, the last card is also done. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and will give this very simple technique a shot. I apologize for this longer video, but I have a video on those pens coming up really soon. Until the next time, stay blessed, stay happy.